There's a reason I need you to listen carefully before you do anything symbolic. When I was deep in the occult, we understood something most believers don't. Symbols matter. Words matter. What you write, what you carry, what you declare over objects connected to your life, it creates agreement. We used to mark things, not dramatically, not obviously, sometimes just a word, a phrase, a symbol placed on an object someone touched daily, a door, a phone, a bag, a wallet. Why? Because repetition builds belief, and belief creates alignment. Your wallet represents provision, survival, security. For many people, it also carries fear, anxiety, lack, scarcity, silent stress every time it opens. And here's what we knew in darkness. If fear surrounds your finances, it becomes easier to influence your decisions. Fear leads to panic. Panic leads to poor choices. Poor choices create cycles. But when someone shifted what they believed about provision, everything changed. So when I tell you to write 3 specific words on your wallet, understand this. It is not superstition. It is not magic. It is alignment through agreement. For years, I watched believers pray for provision while subconsciously expecting lack. Their words said faith. Their reactions revealed fear. The enemy doesn't fight loud prayers. He fights quiet confidence. These 3 words are not a charm. They are a declaration, a reset, a disruption to fear patterns that have attached themselves to your finances. And when agreement changes, atmosphere changes. Let me explain why financial pressure is often spiritual before it is practical. In the occult, we were taught that financial stress is one of the fastest ways to destabilize a believer. Not because money is everything, but because fear of losing it touches everything. If someone is anxious about provision, they become reactive. They compromise faster. They doubt quicker. They accept opportunities they shouldn't. They ignore convictions because survival feels urgent. Scarcity thinking is powerful. It whispers, "There's not enough. It will run out. You're on your own. You have to control everything." And once someone agrees internally with scarcity, they begin making decisions from lack instead of trust. That agreement is what opens cycles. Cycles of barely enough. Cycles of just in time, but never overflow. Cycles of stress at the end of every month. When I left the occult and began studying scripture deeply, I realized something profound. Provision follows perspective. If you believe you are abandoned, you act abandoned. If you believe you are provided for, you act positioned. The enemy does not create your source. He manipulates your expectation. And expectation influences action. Which is why those 3 words matter. Here are the 3 words. Judy S. SOURCE. Not job is source. Not client is source. Not economy is source. Not family is source. God is source. When you write those words inside your wallet, somewhere only you see, you are not activating magic. You are confronting fear. Every time you open it, you will see the reminder my provision does not begin with what's inside this wallet. It begins with who sustains me. In darkness, we understood repetition builds belief. If you constantly rehearse lack internally, you reinforce it. If you consistently rehearse truth, you reshape expectation. These three words interrupt panic. They challenge internal narratives. They shift your emotional response when finances feel tight. Because here's what changes in 24 hours, not necessarily your bank balance, your posture, and posture affects decisions. Decisions affect outcomes. Words create alignment. When spoken from belief, they shape thought patterns. Thought patterns influence choices. Choices create direction. If you open your wallet and silently think, there's never enough, you reinforce scarcity. But if you open it and see GODS, so you are CE, you pause, you breathe, you remember. Peace enters before panic. In the occult, we were taught to manipulate through fear. Fear makes people predictable. Calm makes them strategic. When you remember that God is source, you stop making desperate agreements. You stop saying yes to unethical shortcuts. You stop partnering with anxiety. You stop assuming worst case scenarios. And that alone changes your trajectory. The enemy doesn't need you broke. He just needs you afraid. Because fear blocks wisdom, and wisdom attracts increase. Let me clarify something important. This is not about superstition. Writing words on paper does not force heaven to release money in a day, but within 24 hours, something internal will shift if you allow it. You will notice how often fear tries to rise. You will notice how often scarcity thoughts surface. You will catch yourself before reacting. And that awareness is power. Some of you may even see unexpected favor, not because of ink on leather, but because your posture changed and you responded differently to opportunities already around you. Provision flows more easily through peace than panic. When I was in darkness, we targeted emotional instability. Now I understand why Scripture emphasizes trust. Trust stabilizes you. Stability strengthens decisions. Strong decisions build sustainable provision. Before you write those words, pray this: Lord, I break agreement with scarcity. I renounce fear around provision. You are my source. Agreement is subtle. You may say you trust God, but internally rehearse worst case outcomes. That internal rehearsal matters. When you break agreement with lack, you close a door. And when you close a door, peace increases. Peace allows creativity. Creativity invites opportunity. Opportunity requires discernment. Everything connects. Financial breakthrough is rarely about sudden money. It is about renewed mindset. Mindset shifts behavior. Behavior shapes results. Now listen carefully. If you write GODIS, so you are CE, but continue reckless habits, nothing changes. Alignment requires cooperation. Be disciplined. Be wise. Avoid unnecessary debt. Give when prompted. Save when guided. Trust does not replace responsibility. It strengthens it. When you know God is source, you steward better, not worse. Because fear is no longer driving you. Faith is. The real miracle is not money appearing in 24 hours. It is anxiety losing power in 24 hours. It is peace replacing panic. It is clarity replacing confusion. When I left the occult, I realized the greatest manipulation we used was fear of lack. Remove that fear, and many cycles collapse. So write the words, not as a charm, not as ritual, but as reminder. Judy S. Source. Then watch what happens, not just around you, but within you. Because when your internal agreement changes, your external outcomes eventually follow. And that is something darkness cannot easily reverse.